India is now planning to allow private companies to run nuclear power plants for the first time. For the last 60 years, only the government was allowed to do this because of the 1962 Atomic Energy Act. That law gave full control of all nuclear work to just two government bodies, the Department of Atomic Energy, DAE, and NPCIL. No one else could enter this sector. But this monopoly also slowed India down badly. Most nuclear projects in India get delayed by 8 to 12 years, which means less clean energy and higher costs for everyone. So now the big question is, why is the government suddenly opening this powerful and sensitive sector to private companies? Why was this huge shift kept quiet until now? And if private companies start building nuclear plants across the country, will electricity become cheaper or will it create new risks? This change could completely reshape India's energy future and it affects every citizen. For the last 10 years, we were told a nice story that solar panels and wind turbines would replace coal completely. But the truth is very different. Solar works only when the sun is out, and wind works only when the breeze is strong. In India, solar power gives only 15 to 20% of its full potential. To understand how weak this is, imagine buying a car that works only 4 months in a year. That's exactly how solar compares to nuclear energy. Nuclear plants run day and night, almost 90% of the time, and give what we call base load power, the backbone of a country's electricity system. And this isn't just theory. Even in India, states like Rajasthan and Karnataka have had to reduce solar power because the grid can't handle sudden drops in electricity in the evening. When the sun sets, people use more electricity, but solar power disappears, and the grid becomes unstable. Something similar happened in Spain and Portugal in May 2025. Thousands of homes went dark for hours because the electricity grid couldn't handle too much solar and wind power during the day. The sudden spikes and drops in energy caused the grid to become unstable and break down. Their system is modern and well funded, yet it still failed. This shows how even advanced countries struggle with renewable energy alone. Now think about India. Our grid is under much more stress, handles way more demand, and already struggles during peak hours. If Europe's strong system can fail, India's certainly can if we rely too much on unreliable power. Our steel factories, cement plants, and other industries need electricity every single minute. Right now, batteries are far too expensive to supply power for 1.4 billion people. This wake-up call has triggered a historic change. India's nuclear power is still tiny. It makes only 3% of our electricity, about 8.8 gigawatts from 25 reactors. For comparison, China produces over 50 gigawatts, and countries like the USA, France, and Japan have far more. Most of India's reactors are PHWRs or pressurized heavy water reactors, which use natural uranium and heavy water to safely generate power. In contrast, many other countries use LWRs, light water reactors that run on enriched uranium. To save the grid, the government has set a massive goal: 100 gigawatts by 2047. That's more than 10 times today's capacity. Achieving it will need thousands of acres of land, billions of dollars, and extremely careful planning. The government knows NPCIL alone cannot do this. It moves too slowly because of long procurement times, manpower shortages, and endless red tape. So, they have done the unthinkable. They are breaking a 62-year-old monopoly. The Atomic Energy Act of 1962, which banned private companies from building nuclear plants, is now being changed. Six of India's biggest companies, Tata Power, Reliance, Adani, JSW, and others, are stepping into nuclear power. They've already chosen 16 sites across Gujarat, Odisha, and Andhra Pradesh. Some will use small modular reactors, SMRs, others large PHWRs. This is exactly like the liberalization of our space sector, but with much higher stakes. These companies aren't doing it for charity. They need captive power for their factories. For example, Tata Steel uses hundreds of megawatts just for smelting, and Adani plans hydrogen projects that need continuous electricity. And here's the twist: India doesn't fully have this technology yet. So, where will it come from? And who will control it? That's where the real story begins. This is where we step right into the American trap. In March 2025, the United States allowed a company called Holtec to share its small modular reactor or SMR technology with India. SMRs are like the new iPhones of nuclear power: small, factory made, and quick to set up. They solve big problems less digging and construction at the site, faster building, and parts that can be added like Lego blocks. Sounds perfect, right? But here is the catch. The SMR 300 could lock India into the American system forever. Holtec owns all the designs. India would depend on them for fuel, and every single step, every change, modification, or test must be reported to the US Department of Energy under Part 810 of the Atomic Energy Act. In simple terms, Part 810 is a law that controls how American nuclear technology can be shared abroad. It means the US can track and approve almost everything India does with this reactor. Exciting? Yes. But it's also a trap with legal and strategic strings attached. Once you're in, it's hard to break free. You can't talk about nuclear power in India without remembering the Bhopal gas tragedy. That disaster left a scar on the nation and shaped how we think about responsibility. That's why India made the Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage Act in 2010. There's one part, Section 17B, that's truly unique. It says if a reactor fails, India can sue not just the operator but also the supplier who made the faulty part. Most countries don't do this. The rule creates a tough choice. Without strong liability, safety collapses. With strong liability, foreign companies hesitate to invest. American companies have avoided India for years because they want total immunity. Think of it like this. Back in 1979, the 3 Mile Island accident in the US bankrupted the plant operator. India wants to make sure something like that never happens quietly. So now the big question looms. Will India soften its safety laws to attract US reactors? Or will the American companies finally accept that Indian lives matter? But while we look to America for help, we have ignored the treasure in our own backyard, thorium. India has 25% of the world's thorium reserves. Thorium is like raw gold. It can give huge energy, but only if you have the right refinery. It's tricky because we need special technology to turn it into usable fuel, deal with molten salt corrosion, and breed uranium-233 to make reactors run. Decades ago, India's legendary scientist Homi Bhabha designed a three-stage program. First, use pressurized heavy water reactors. Then move to fast breeder reactors, and finally shift to thorium-based reactors. If we had followed it properly, India could have 3,58,000 gigawatt years of energy, enough to power the country for centuries without importing any fuel. But we failed. Our fast breeder reactor program has been delayed for 15 years. And with it, India's thorium dream remains mostly untouched. And while we delayed, China raced ahead. In the Gobi Desert, they've already switched on the world's first thorium molten salt reactor, an experimental 2 megawatt plant. This small reactor is just the start. It's a test bed for much bigger grid-scale thorium reactors expected by the 2030s. The bitter truth is clear. India has the fuel, but China has built the engine. And there's another worry. China could start exporting thorium reactors the way it exports solar panels today, shaping global energy markets before India even gets started. So, is all hope lost? Not at all. Enter the Bharat Small Reactor, or BSMR 200. India's homegrown answer to the world. It uses heavy water technology, which our scientists have mastered over the past 50 years. In simple terms, heavy water reactors use a special type of water to slow down neutrons, allowing natural uranium fuel to work safely and efficiently. They're also safer because they can cool down naturally if something goes wrong, without needing electricity or pumps. Yes, it's expensive. The first unit costs around 5,750 crore rupees. And it's slow to build because we have limited factories and some parts are hard to make. But here is the best part. It is ours. We don't need American permission, and we don't have to change our liability laws to build it. The government plans to have 5 of these running by 2033, showing that India can take control of its nuclear future. We are standing at a critical crossroads. Option A is the easy but risky path. Importing American nuclear technology, which could give us power quickly but might compromise our legal control and make us dependent on foreign companies. Option B is the harder path. Perfecting our own homegrown technology and finally unlocking India's thorium dream. The clock is ticking. If we don't add 40 gigawatts of nuclear energy by 2035, India could face energy shortages like we saw in 2007 to 2008. The choice we make now will decide India's energy future for decades to come. I want to know what you think. Should India change its liability laws to invite American nuclear giants, or should we struggle for another decade to build our own indigenous reactors, even if it takes longer? Tell me your honest opinion in the comments below. And if this video gave you new insights, don't forget to subscribe. It really motivates me to create even more for you. Jai Hind.